Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a unique work of 20th century literature in that it fuses comedy, science fiction, and metaphysical speculation. Beneath its absurd humour and surreal narrative lies a serious philosophical vision, one that resonates with the existential tradition's confrontation with the absurd, the collapse of meaning, and the search for authentic response in an indifferent universe. Albert Camus defines the absurd as the confrontation between the human longing for order, meaning, and clarity and the universe's silent indifference. In The Myth of Sisyphus, he writes, "The absurd is born of this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world." Douglas Adams' entire fictional cosmos dramatizes this confrontation. The Earth is demolished by the Vogons to make way for a hyperspace bypass, a decision made through cosmic bureaucracy, without any malice or reason. Humanity's extinction is treated as a procedural inconvenience. And this is absurdity in its purest sense, the total disproportion between the scale of human significance and the world's lack of concern. The ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything turns out to be 42, a symbolically meaningless answer to an unknown question. This is a perfect Camusian parable. Humanity's desperate quest for meaning ends in numerical nonsense. It's not that there is no answer. There is one. It's that the question itself is incoherent. Camus insists that the absurd cannot be solved by appealing to faith or reason. To seek resolution is to fall into philosophical suicide. The leap of faith or illusion of order. Adams dramatizes this too. Every attempt to impose meaning, whether through computers, religion, or bureaucratic system, only produces further absurdities. Yet Adams' solution mirrors Camus' rebellion through laughter. Instead of despairing, his characters persist, drinking tea, hitchhiking, reading the guide. Humour becomes a form of revolt, a way of acknowledging the absurd without collapsing under it. Jean-Paul Sartre describes existence as contingent, without essence or necessity. In Nausea, Requentin, I possibly said that wrong, it's a French name, feels sickened by the sheer superfluity, I can't say that word either, of the world. Things exist for no reason at all. Adams renders this insight through comic science fiction. The universe of The Hitchhiker's Guide is governed not by moral or metaphysical laws, but by accident, chance, and arbitrary coincidence. Arthur Dent survives Earth's destruction purely because Ford Prefect happens to be his friend. The Heart of Gold spaceship is powered by the infinite improbability drive, which explicitly turns contingency into the law of the universe. The ship's engine is existential philosophy in machine form. Reality itself becomes a chaotic cascade of improbable events. This is Sartre's nausea transposed into farce. In a world where anything can happen, and for no reason, meaning cannot be derived from causality or purpose. Like Sartre's existential subject, Adams' characters must invent their own small reason for acting. Arthur's continual longing for a cup of tea is thus not trivial. It's a tiny assertion of self amongst all the chaos. As Sartre puts it, freedom means that we are condemned to be free, forced to choose and act without guarantees. Adam's universe offers no safety net of reason or order, and his humour points to the same truth Sartre discovered, that freedom is both terrifying and ridiculous. If the absurd begins in the failure of reason, then Marvin the Paranoid Android is its tragicomic emblem. A hyper-intelligent robot with a brain the size of a planet. Marvin embodies the Enlightenment faith in reason pushed to its breaking point. His depression stems from total comprehension. Marvin understands everything and therefore sees the meaninglessness of everything. And this echoes Nietzsche's warning in The Gay Science and Thus Spoke Zarathustra that unrestrained rationality leads to nihilism. When God is dead and reason replaces faith, the world loses its transcendental grounding. Marvin's despair is the mechanical version of the Nietzschean last man, the being who knows too much to believe in anything yet lacks the creative power to affirm life in its absurdity. He is also, in another sense, Camus' intellectual suicide, a consciousness that cannot tolerate its own lucidity. Through Marvin, Adams suggests that intelligence without irony leads to despair, that the only way to remain sane in a meaningless world is to retain the ability to laugh. Existential philosophy arose from the failure of total systems, religious, rational, and political, to provide meaning. Adams turns this philosophical insight into satire. The Vogue on Bureaucracy parodies both divine order and modern rationalism. It is rule without reason, a system that exists purely for itself. Deep Thought and its successor, the Planet Earth, parody scientific rationalism and theology at once, machines that promise total explanation but deliver absurdity. The Babel Fish, which proves God's non-existence by providing perfect proof, is a comic restatement of Kierkegaard's claim that faith must be absurd. Kierkegaard argues that belief only has meaning if it transcends reason. Adams twists this into irony. Faith collapses precisely because reason succeeds. In all these cases, the underlying critique is existential. Systems designed to guarantee meaning only expose its absence. No external authority, divine, rational, or bureaucratic, can tell us how to live. Meaning must be created subjectively in the moment. In the face of absurdity, existentialists propose various forms of authentic response. For Camus, it's revolt, living fully without appeal to meaning. For Sartre, it's authentic choice, creating value through action. For Nietzsche, it's amor fati, the joyful affirmation of existence, including its chaos. Adams compresses all of this into two words. Don't panic. This is not complacency, but composure. A form of philosophical courage. It recognizes the absurdity of the universe without being destroyed by it. The guide itself, a cheap, unreliable travel manual for hitchhikers wandering the galaxy, becomes a metaphor for human existence after the death of God. In the absence of divine or rational certainty, we make do with partial truths, pragmatic advice, and humour. The guide replaces the Bible, science, philosophy, and so on as the final authority, and yet all it really offers is a joke and a slogan. Douglas Adams' use of humour is not merely stylistic, it is philosophical. He transforms existential dread into laughter. Where Camus finds tragic dignity in Sisyphus, Adams finds farce. But both writers reach the same conclusion. The only meaningful response to the absurd is to live on one's own terms. Consider the tone of the narrative voice. Detached, bemused, always slightly superior to the events it describes. This voice embodies what Nietzsche might call the higher laughter of the overman, the laughter that comes from seeing the chaos of existence and affirming it anyway. In that sense, Adams does for the late 20th century what Nietzsche and Camus did for their times. He re-enchants nihilism with wit. Nietzsche's proclamation that God is dead marks the beginning of a world where all traditional sources of meaning collapse. Adams's cosmos is the perfect dramatization of this condition, a universe in which gods have been replaced by bureaucrats, programmers, and incompetent galactic officials. But this death is also liberation. Just as Nietzsche's Zarathustra urges humanity to become a creator of values, Adams's characters, Arthur, Ford, Zaphod, and Trillion, drift freely through a meaningless galaxy, improvising their existence. Their adventures are purposeless, but they are lived. In that sense, they are closer to Nietzsche's free spirits than despairing nihilists. The universe may have no purpose, but it has infinite possibilities. And Adams' tone suggests that this is not tragedy, but comedy. So Douglas Adams does not solve the problem of meaning. He ridicules the expectation that it can be solved. His humour is not escapism, but metaphysical clarity disguised as farce. Like Camus, he begins from the absurd. Like Sartre, he sees that meaning must be created. Like Nietzsche, he laughs at the ruins of metaphysics. And like Kierkegaard, he understands that absurdity is the birthplace of faith, or in his version, irony. In a universe that answers our deepest questions with 42, Adams invites us not to despair, but to smile. To accept that the search for ultimate meaning is itself part of the joke. The guide's final wisdom, don't panic, is philosophical counsel as deep as anything in existential literature. The universe is vast, indifferent and absurd, but you are here. Keep your towel and carry on.